All right, welcome back everybody to another video of the radio soldering project. Today we're going to work on um, doing installing three parts here: the speaker. We're going to install the battery holder, and we're going to install the earphone jack. So all three of these parts here have their own little quirks about them. So we're going to start with what I think is the hardest one first, is the speaker. So you can see on the speaker attaches to the board here. There's also step-by-step instructions here of how to do it in Figure H. And if you don't want to watch this video and you want to do that, go for it. But I thought I'd film this for everybody else. There's there's actually three wires that will be attached to the speaker and the earphone jack. Those three wires are going to come out of this little white jumper wire that should have been included in your radio kit. Now, if for some reason you lost that or it wasn't included, if you have a similar wire anywhere that you could use, that would work just fine. You can message me and we can try to get the school to drop some off at your house if necessary too. Okay, well let's get after it here and we'll start with mounting the speaker on our board. So the speaker's going to go right here. The first step is putting down the adhesive for the speaker. So you've got adhesive tape on each side of this thing. I'm going to peel one side of it off, then I'm going to put it on the speaker. Stick it down real good, and we'll take the other side and peel the other side off. Then we're ready to stick our speaker down. I want to make sure that we stick it down, and I kind of missed it a little bit, so that we have our two leads right here over by these guys as shown. There, I feel a little better about it now. Okay, next step is going to be prepping our wire leads to connect to this thing. So you can see this one wire comes off of here and then goes down to the board. So we're going to have to strip the insulation off of this white wire that I gave you. Now there's a couple ways to do that. First of all, if you have a wire stripper at home, something like this, that is definitely the easiest way to do it, and that's the way I would recommend. If you don't have a wire stripper at home, we've got a couple other choices. You can gently use the diagonal plier that I gave you to cut around the insulation and then try to pull the insulation off of the wire. And it's not going very well for me yet. There we go. And you can do that. That works. You really have to watch it though, so that you don't cut the wire underneath. You could also take a utility knife, and you could ask Mom if you could use one of her kitchen knives, but you really got to be careful using a knife on doing something like this. This isn't really the best way to do it, but you could use a knife to basically whittle away the insulation around this thing. That works too. Okay. Now we want we're going to make a little loop here in the end of our wire, and I'm going to put it right through the speaker lug. Now it's important that this wire not touch the base, like this metal part. Make sure that the wire isn't, I don't know if you can see that. We don't want this loop here to touch the frame of the speaker. That'll ground the wire, and we can't have something like that happen. That would be bad. So now that we have that on, now we're ready to actually solder it. So I'm gonna take my solder here. I got my iron hot and all cleaned up. I'm just gonna solder that right to the lug. That one's done. All right, the next step is going to be soldering it to this pad right here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut, maybe about an inch long of this wire. This one doesn't need to be very long. And then we'll strip the other end of this thing. You could do this all, of course, before you solder the first one on, you could strip both ends of the wire, and that would probably make it a little bit easier than the way I'm doing it here. And my first attempt with the diagonal plier didn't go well, so now I'm down to utility knife to get this thing stripped. I could use the wire strippers too, but I'll do it the hard way. Okay, we got that done. Now we're ready to go ahead and just solder this lead right to the pad, just like it shows in the diagram up here. It shows that we're soldering that lead right to the pad. There we go. Okay, so for our next step, we need to solder another lead to the lug right here on the other side. So I'm going to take our wire that we already got cut off, and I'm going to make another loop on this end and solder it over here just like that. Once again, being careful not to touch any of the metal leads when I have it soldered down. I can't have it touching the frame of the speaker at all. So we have that done, then we're ready to install our earphone jack right here. Okay. So I've got our earphone jack. Now I will tell you these things are metal leads in a plastic housing. And so when you solder this one on the outside, try not to hang around too long with the soldering iron, because as you heat it up, it'll actually start melting away some of the plastic here, and it makes it so that the earphone jack doesn't quite work right. If you want to make this easier too, you could just go ahead and put the little thumb nut here on the bottom of it to hold it in place. I'm going to do it without here just for speed's sake. All we're doing here is just basically bending this tab down so that it meets up with that bottom pad. And looks like it's lights out again. So I'll meet you in the next